Hi, I'm Princess Diana. Welcome to my channel, where stories hit different. Hit subscribe. Let's dive in. The champagne glass in my hand was worth more than my sister thought I made in a month. That was the first thought that crossed my mind standing on her perfectly staged deck, overlooking Crystal Lake. And honestly, that was the point of nights like this. Madison had always been excellent at one thing, making assumptions look like facts. Her party was flawless in the way only Madison could design. The kind of calculated perfection that didn't just say success, it announced it loudly, like a warning to anyone who didn't belong. 200 guests spread across a lakefront property that screamed wealth, influence, and carefully curated status. Everything here had a purpose. Even the laughter sounded scheduled. I arrived quietly. Simple black dress. Nothing dramatic. $200. Nothing she would ever consider appropriate for an event like this. Before I even stepped inside, her texts were already waiting. Please dress appropriately. This is a professional event. And then, try not to embarrass me. I didn't argue. I just sent a thumbs up emoji. That was our dynamic. She built worlds made of image and expectation. I learned to stay out of the frame. Our parents arrived first, of course. Dad in his country club blazer, holding a scotch like it was part of his identity. Mum wearing her important occasion pearls, scanning the room like she was judging a life she didn't fully understand, but desperately wanted to approve of. They immediately drifted toward Madison's business circle, toward people who mattered in her version of reality. And me, I was the quiet one, the afterthought, the one they stopped asking about years ago, when my answers became too technical, too boring, too unlike Madison's neatly packaged success stories at dinner tables. Madison was 5 years older, groomed for this life from the moment she could. Speak in full sentences. Northwestern, MBA at 24, junior partner by 28, now on track for senior partner at Lakeside Developments. She handled luxury waterfront properties like she was born inside boardrooms. And me, I was 28, quiet, forgettable. According to them, I did something with consulting, a vague category they stopped trying to decode years ago. What they didn't know was that I had been funding a portion of Madison's success for years, not directly, never visibly. Through Cascade Capital, partners in a chain of entities designed for one purpose, privacy, $5.1 million had quietly gone into Lakeside Developments, into Crystal Lake expansion, into the marina, the luxury condos, the retail spaces. Everyone here admired tonight. I'd sat in board meetings under a corporate identity, asking careful questions, listening to Madison pitch projects I was already partially paying for. She had no idea the distant investor she respected was her own sister, and I had liked it that way. Until tonight, the first hour passed like expected. Madison moved through her world like a politician at a campaign gala. Every handshake intentional, every laugh measured. Her business partner Craig stayed close, touching her elbow in that subtle, possessive way people in power partnerships do, when they want the room to understand alignment. I stayed at the edge, observing. Then I heard it. I wasn't even trying to listen. But voices carry differently when they're talking about you. Is her sister actually here? Someone asked. Vanessa Chin, one of Madison's colleagues. Madison laughed lightly. Unfortunately, yes. I told her she didn't have to come, but you know family. What does she even do? Vanessa asked. A pause. A shrug disguised as elegance. I honestly don't know. Something like data entry. She's very private about it. Probably embarrassed. They both laughed. I stayed still. Then, Madison's voice again, softer but sharper. 28 and still renting a studio apartment. Can you imagine? Some people just never figure it out. Vanessa nodded sympathetically. It must be hard having family like that. It is, Madison said. We had the same opportunities. She just chose. Mediocrity. That word landed. Differently than the rest. Mediocrity. As if I had chosen invisibility, the same way she chose her heels and her confidence. She kept going, unaware I was 20 feet away. The worst part is she probably thinks she can get here someday. Like effort. Alone gets you waterfront property. Laughter followed, and I stood there watching Crystal Lake reflect the sunset like nothing in my world had just shifted. Because this wasn't new. I had heard versions of it my entire life, but something in me tightened anyway. I pulled out my phone. Cascade. Capital investment in lakeside developments. Initiate withdrawal. 90-day notice as per agreement. Send. 40 seconds later. Confirmed. No drama, no explanation. Just business. I slipped the phone away like nothing had changed. The party kept moving. Glasses clinked. Craig gave a speech about vision and the future of luxury living. Madison smiled like she was born for applause, and I let them all believe I was exactly who they thought I was. Because for 6 years, that had been my strategy. Build quietly, stay invisible, let assumptions do the work. People like Madison believed success had to be seen to be real. I had learned the opposite. Real success doesn't need witnesses. At one point, my mother approached me. "You made it," she said, already sounding mildly disappointed. "We weren't sure you'd come." "Madison invited me," I replied. Her eyes scanned my dress. "It's nice you made an effort." My father joined in seconds later, already mid-thought. "Hell of a property Madison's got. That's what real investment looks like. Tangible assets. Not whatever it is you do with computers." I didn't correct him. I never did anymore. He had built a version of me years ago and never updated it. "Of course," I said politely. Mom leaned in. "Just don't take attention away from Madison tonight. She has important clients." I nodded. I always nodded. Later, I stood alone near the edge of the deck. My phone lit up. Emails from my actual office. Portfolio updates. Acquisition notes. A text from Zoe. Surviving the family performance. I replied, "About as expected. Home soon." Zoe understood things my family never bothered to see. She was an architect, successful in her own right, and one of the few people who knew I wasn't what I looked like. That's when I heard Madison again. "You know, she's here somewhere," she said to someone nearby. "My sister. Try not to ask her too many questions. She gets uncomfortable. More." Laughter. I didn't react. Not yet. Because reactions are expensive when you're planning consequences. Stayed another hour. Smiled. Congratulated. Played my role perfectly. Then I left. On the drive home, I already knew what Monday would look like. Craig would receive the notification first. Emergency board meeting. Panic disguised as professionalism. They'd reread the contract and realized the clause was ironclad. Days to replace, 5.1 million or restructure everything. They would scramble. They would negotiate. They would survive, eventually, but not cleanly. Madison's promotion track would shift. Quietly, invisibly, like everything important in business usually does, and she would never know why. That was the part I didn't need to justify to anyone else. At home, my apartment was small, minimal, the kind of place people misread instantly as struggle. What they didn't know was, I owned the building, the entire complex. My rent went in a circle, back to me through property structures designed for privacy and tax efficiency. Zoe was already there when I arrived. "How bad?" she asked. She called me a lifelong renter who chose mediocrity, I said. Zoe winced. Ouch! In front of her colleagues. In a house I helped finance. That got her attention. I showed her the withdrawal confirmation. You're really pulling it, she said. Yes. Are you sure this is about money? I leaned back. It's not. It's about 6 years of being dismissed by people who never bothered to look up once. Zoe watched me carefully. She's your sister. I know. And you didn't tell her. I didn't need to. That night, I didn't feel anger. Not really, just clarity. Monday came with rain. By 11:47 a.m., the call came through. Craig, tense but professional, speaking to legal. We weren't anticipating this withdrawal, he said. It's within contractual rights, my attorney replied calmly. Can we negotiate? The decision is final. There was a long silence. To that, professional, controlled, devastating. Days passed. Madison called on day 9. Her voice was different now. Tired. One of our investors pulled out. She said, "We don't even know why." I listened. She didn't recognize the irony of calling me for comfort. Business happens, I said simply. I don't understand it, she admitted. Everything was going so well. Sometimes it still is, I said. She sighed. I guess I just needed someone who isn't judging me right now. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I asked her quietly, "What do you think I do for work?" Silence. You said consulting, she said slowly. When was the last time you actually asked? Another silence. That was the answer. You all decided who I was a long time ago, I said, and never looked again. Her voice broke slightly. I'm sorry, but it wasn't the right kind of sorry. I ended the call. Zoe asked later if I would ever tell her. No, I said, because the point isn't that I'm successful. The point is, she never bothered to know me. 90 days later, Lakeside stabilized. At a cost. New funding. Worse terms. Delayed projects. Smaller ambitions. Madison still advanced, but not as fast as she expected. No one ever connected it back to me, and that was fine. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It just adjusts the outcome. Eventually Madison called again. This time quieter. I've been thinking, she said, about assumptions, about how I treated you. I listened. I want to understand you better, she added. The real you. There was a pause. Okay, I said finally. But not for me to be impressive. For you to be interested. Another silence. I understand, she said softly. And for the first time, I think she actually meant it. After I hung up, Zoe looked at me. You're really giving her a second chance. I'm giving her a chance to see differently, I said. What she does with it is on her. Because in the end, the real revenge was never exposure. It was continuity, building quietly, winning quietly, and letting the world adjust, without ever needing permission.